On the unforgiving savanna, it is not brute strength, but absolute unity that has turned African wild dogs into the most efficient hunters on the planet. Follow these dancers of the wind into a relentless fight for survival, where loyalty is the ultimate weapon. Rhinoceros is the armored tank of the savanna, built like a fortress and armed with a razor-sharp horn that radiates raw power, despite its overwhelming strength. Even this giant occasionally draws the attention of a cunning pack of African wild dogs. In these rare encounters, the pack relies on harassment tactics, circling relentlessly, probing for any sign of weakness. Yet a single thunderous charge or a forceful snort from the rhino is often enough to send the smaller predators scattering. The clash is a striking contrast: brute, muscular dominance on one side, calculated agility and opportunism on the The footage captures a dramatic reversal of roles when the cunning leopard decides to become the hunter instead of the one hiding. Taking advantage of a moment when the wild dogs are busy enjoying their late lunch, the leopard bursts out of the bushes like an arrow, using its terrifying speed and raw power to shock the pack. Caught completely off guard by the sudden aggression of the spotted assassin. Surrounded by the aggressive pack of wild dogs barking loudly to intimidate it, the leopard quickly relies on its natural climbing ability to escape. In a split second, it bursts upward and races straight to the top of a towering tree, leaving the large group of frustrated opponents leaping helplessly below. With the fierce circle of wild dogs closing in, the leopard doesn't choose to fight to the death, but instead displays its masterful escape skills. With one powerful surge of its body, it shoots straight up the vertical trunk of a tree, leaving behind the desperate barking and the pack's helpless leaps below. On the open plains of the Okavango, a leopard has just taken down its prey when it suddenly finds itself facing a pack of aggressive wild dogs. Instead of backing off before the lone predator's power, the dogs move in with perfect coordination, using sharp, piercing barks and constant snapping bites to surround and overwhelm their rival. Realizing the numbers are heavily against it, the leopard has no choice but to abandon the fresh kill and retreat up a nearby tree. In Moremi, the African wild dog pack moves with seamless coordination, using calculated slicing bites to separate a calf from the protective shield of its mother. And although the mother buffalo charges in fury, unleashing every ounce of her strength to drive them back, the pack's relentless multi-directional siege slowly exhausts the young one until it collapses, bringing the confrontation to a tragic end, as the heartbroken mother is forced to retreat into the water in a final attempt to secure her own safety. If wild dogs represent discipline and speed, then the hyena stands as the embodiment of brute strength and ruthless cunning, armed with jaws powerful enough to crush bone. The hyena is the ultimate opportunistic raider, always ready to snatch victory from the After discovering that a leopard has killed one of their young, the wild dogs unleash a wave of ruthless fury. Overwhelmed by the pack's relentless encirclement and sheer numbers, the solitary predator is forced into a fearful retreat, vanishing into the thick brush in a desperate bid to escape. Confronted by a suffocating ring and the pack's relentless group assault, the leopard makes a narrow and fortunate escape. Though completely outnumbered, it seizes a split-second advantage in the terrain to launch a life-saving burst of speed. In the heart of the chaotic ring, the leopard unleashes a lightning-fast bite, instantly crippling one wild dog in a single decisive strike. Even as thunderous barks erupt and the rest of the pack lunges in a frantic attempt to rescue their fallen comrade, the solitary predator does not waver. With terrifying strength and unyielding resolve, the leopard fights off the surrounding assaults while clamping down with lethal force, reasserting its status as one of the wild's most formidable assassins. Trapped within the tightening circle of wild dogs, the lone hyena twists and turns, struggling to fend off lightning-fast attacks coming from every direction. Thick clouds of dust blur the scene, but they cannot hide the brutality of snapping jaws tearing at flesh. Realizing the crushing pressure of the pack is slowly draining its last hope, the hyena makes a life-or-death decision, break through the encirclement, and dive straight into the deep water, gambling on one final chance of survival. Wildebeest are endurance athletes of the plains, built with powerful muscles and sharp curved horns, ready to crush obstacles along their great migrations. They rely on sheer numbers and bone-shaking kicks to defend themselves in a savanna filled with danger. Yet even this living wall of flesh begins to tremble when the striped shadows of African wild dogs appear, launching a patient siege, searching relentlessly for even the smallest opening to bring their prey down. In a breathless chase, the wild dog pack works in flawless coordination to bring down a massive wildebeest. Using speed and relentless endurance, they strike again and again at vulnerable points, driving the exhausted animal to collapse powerless to fight back. Traffic grinds to a halt as a fierce battle erupts between a pack of wild dogs and a group of hyenas right in the middle of the roadway. Both sides charge into a violent clash over territory and prey, creating a scene of pure chaos as growls and barking echo across the area. The chase erupts in dramatic fashion as the pack spreads into formation, pressing in again and again to grind down the prey's stamina over long distances. Despite the wildebeest's overwhelming size and strength, it cannot break free from the layered encirclement that steadily closes in around it. Within the dense ring of attackers, the wildebeest stands firm, like a living fortress, wielding its sharp horns and powerful rear kicks to repel every assault. Despite repeated attempts to probe for weakness and strike from the edges, the wild dogs find themselves unable to breach the solid defenses of the towering giant. Antelopes. The track athletes of the savanna are built with slender legs and blistering speed, allowing them to evade most lightning-fast ambushes by predators. Yet against the relentless persistence of African wild dogs, speed alone is never enough, turning the chase into a deadly marathon of endurance. The wild dog pack brings down its prey with terrifying speed. Unlike big cats that rely on a suffocating bite, wild dogs tear the prey apart while it is still alive to minimize feeding time. Along the riverbank, a wild dog pack chases down and brings down an impala. With speed and precise coordination, the dogs quickly overwhelm their target, finishing the kill in nature's most instinctive way. A dramatic siege unfolds as a wild dog pack targets a massive sable antelope. Despite relentless encirclement, the dogs struggle against the antelope's resilience and its long, razor-sharp horns. A rare and harrowing scene unfolds as an antelope is trapped between two deadly threats. It lashes out to escape a hippopotamus in the water, only to face a wild dog pack waiting on the shore. If wild dogs represent discipline and speed, then the hyena stands as the embodiment of brute strength and ruthless cunning, armed with jaws powerful enough to crush bone. The hyena is the ultimate opportunistic raider, always ready to snatch victory from the hard work of others. When these two predators collide, it becomes far more than a fight over a carcass. It's a fiery showdown between agile pack strategy and raw, relentless toughness. Out on the unforgiving savanna, only one side can truly dominate the game in this no-mercy battle. Out on the open savanna, the African wild dog pack locks onto a newborn buffalo calf as its next target, exploiting the calf's fragility and a fleeting lapse in the mother's guard. They apply relentless pressure, working methodically to isolate the vulnerable young. Though the mother fights back in desperation, the suffocating force of so many coordinated predators gradually overwhelms her defense. A pack of 21 wild dogs closes in, relying on sheer numbers and iron discipline to separate the mother buffalo from her calf. Despite the mother's frantic and fearless defense, the pack's relentless wear-down strategy steadily drains the young calf's strength. In the end, the calf collapses under the brutal collective pressure of the coordinated hunters, bringing a tragic chapter of the survival struggle. Amid a cloud of dust, the chase suddenly turns into a fiery close-quarters clash. The lone hyena relies on sheer muscle as its shield, launching furious counterattacks against the wild dog's unpredictable hit-and-run tactics. But the overwhelming force of numbers quickly tightens the circle, forcing the stubborn fighter to retreat in fear and flee to save its life. Within the tightening circle of wild dogs, the lone hyena twists and turns, struggling to fend off lightning-fast attacks coming from every direction. Thick clouds of dust blur the scene, but they cannot hide the brutality of snapping jaws tearing at flesh. Realizing the crushing pressure of the pack is slowly draining its last hope, the hyena makes a life-or-death decision, break through the encirclement, and dive straight into the deep water, gambling on one final. If wild dogs represent discipline and speed, then the hyena stands as the embodiment of brute strength and ruthless cunning, armed with jaws powerful enough to crush bone. The hyena is the ultimate opportunistic raider, always ready to snatch victory from the hard work of others. When these two predators collide, it becomes far more than a fight over a carcass. It's a fiery showdown between agile pack. Out on the open savanna, the African wild dog pack locks onto a newborn buffalo calf as its next target, exploiting the calf's fragility and a fleeting lapse in the mother's guard. They apply relentless pressure, working methodically to isolate the vulnerable young. Though the mother fights back, a pack of 21 wild dogs closes in, relying on sheer numbers and iron discipline to separate the mother buffalo from her calf. Despite the mother's frantic and fearless defense, the pack's relentless wear-down strategy steadily drains the young calf's strength. In the end, the calf collapses under the brutal collective pressure of the coordinated hunters, bringing a tragic. Amid a cloud of dust, the chase suddenly turns into a fiery close-quarters clash. The lone hyena relies on sheer muscle as its shield, launching furious counterattacks against the wild dog's unpredictable hit-and-run tactics. But the overwhelming force of numbers quickly tightens the circle, forcing the stubborn fighter to retreat in fear and flee to save. Crocodiles may be feared as ruthless killers with bone-crushing bites, but they are often forced to think twice when facing the sharp intelligence of African wild dogs. In a direct confrontation, raw brute force is challenged by lightning-fast speed and guerrilla-style tactics from these elite operatives of the savanna. This is a dramatic showdown between armored power beneath the water and coordinated pack intelligence on land. The opening scene delivers a heart-stopping confrontation between nature's brutality and unbreakable teamwork. When one member of the African wild dog pack is suddenly seized by a massive crocodile and dragged beneath the water, the pack does not flee. Instead, they immediately rush back surrounding the riverbank. Barking relentlessly, sprinting along the shoreline, and probing every possible opening, they harass the aquatic monster in search of a chance to rescue their teammate. This moment stands as powerful proof of the extraordinary family bond that allows African wild dogs to survive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. A massive crocodile suddenly emerges, snatching the prey right from under the noses of the African wild dog pack. Despite their relentless harassment and furious barking, the overwhelming power of this aquatic monster leaves them helpless as their hard-earned catch is dragged down into the depths of the river. A heart-stopping moment unfolds as a crocodile hidden beneath the water suddenly lunges at a pack of African wild dogs drinking along the riverbank. In a split second, razor-sharp reflexes and incredible agility allow the entire pack to escape the deadly jaws of this swamp assassin. It is a dramatic encounter that reveals just how thin the line is between life and death on the savanna. The wild dog pack relies on speed and agility to harass their opponent, while the crocodile depends on its thick armor and bone-crushing bite to maintain its dominance. The wild dog pack closes in repeatedly using harassment tactics to provoke their opponent, while the crocodile remains ominously still, displaying its deadly jaws. It is a nerve-wracking battle of wits between land-based special forces and a waterborne assassin unfolding right at the edge of survival. These falls are not merely accidents. They stand as powerful reminders of nature's harsh reality and the physical limits even the most formidable predators can. The once peaceful waterhole suddenly erupts into chaos as two of the savanna's fiercest forces collide: hyenas and wild dogs. Driven by thirst and the lure of an easy meal, the area transforms into a fiery battleground filled with menacing growls and thunderous snapping jaws. While the wild dogs showcase their hit-and-run tactics, using speed to tear through their opponent's formation, the hyenas stand their ground like a wall of brute force, relying on raw